Everybody has a story, but not all stories have been told. This is Benson the Storyteller, and these are some of my untold stories. Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Benson the Storyteller, and these are my untold stories. Today I'm coming to you from this particular park over here. If you can see where I am, there are people there in the background walking their dogs in the park, and the weather's a little chilly, but it's okay. So in my previous video I was telling you guys about the friends that I had in APTC primary school, and most of my classmates. I couldn't remember all of my classmates, but those were the ones that I could remember their names offhand. Now, today I want to give you more stories about APTC primary school. APTC initials, it means Administration Police Training Camp College Primary School. All right. Now, APTC primary school was a school that bordered, as I told you before, it bordered the national park, Nairobi National Park. All right. And it was also the closest school to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, JKIA, which is the major airport in East Africa. Jomo Kenyatta Airport is also the only airport that borders a national park. All right. So Jomo Kenyatta International Airport borders the Nairobi National Park, and it's very close to APTC primary school, which also borders part of the same park, the national park. Now, one of the advantages that came with having our school next to the airport was that every time that our president would be flying out of the country, or he'd be flying back into the country, our school was always invited to go and welcome him back or say goodbye to him as he left the country, because our president really liked school choirs. All right. So his handlers would organize the 3 or 4 schools to go and sing for him songs at the airport when he was leaving and when he was coming back. So for that reason, we had a very, very robust choir, and our choir master happened to be from one of the famous bands, the APTC band, which was called the Maroon Commandos band. Yeah. So we had 2 choir masters, all right, who would come to the school and teach and train us. They'd practically write songs for us, and most of the songs that we practiced in school were praise songs. You know, those days it was a one-party system. The president was Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, and leaders liked to be praised. So most of the songs that the schools went and performed at the airport for the president were praise songs. Now, I remember there was this time when we were told that we were supposed to, there were more schools than usual that were invited. I'm not really sure what event it was, but I remember that we had been told that there was going to be a very big occasion where schools were going to perform for the president. So our 2 choir masters took it really seriously, and we had to practice. So I remember they came up with this very famous song that they'd written. It became popular later on, and the government always wanted us to go and perform that particular song. So on this occasion, we went as the school, the choir. There was the school choir that went for competitions, all right? But then there was the mass choir that was larger, and mostly it was made up of the older classes, all right? And yeah, so this was an occasion where it was the mass choir that was invited. So when we went, there were a lot of dignitaries there. We had Hezekiah Oyugi was very prominent minister, very powerful. We had Nicholas Biwott was there, and Nicholas Biwott was practically the number 2 in the country. He was the most powerful cabinet minister. He was even nicknamed Total Man. And I'd given you guys a story about him before in Australia, where I told you that I'd met him in Australia at the High Commissioner's house during the parties that were held for the ambassadors and the people who worked in the High Commission. So this occasion when we went, we had there's this song that was written by these guys to go and they wanted us to go and perform. And let me just move a bit because there are people who've come here to play, and I don't want to make interfere with them so much. So let me move a little bit off to this side. Yeah. Yep. All right. Yeah. So I was saying, there was this song that they wrote, and the song, part of the song went like this: Moi ya jenga nchi yake, Moi ya jenga nchi yake, te 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 re 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 te re re re, te re te re 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 te, te 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 re te 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 re re re, te 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 te, Moi ya jenga. All right, but then there was a part of the song that went, ukitaka kukujua uko wapi cheza naye, ukitaka kukujua uko wapi cheza naye, Moi ya jenga. Now, that part of the song directly translates to, if you want to know where you are, then play around with him. Ukitaka kukujua uko wapi cheza naye. Like, if you want a reality check, play around with our president. And I remember the moment that song was sung, Hezekiah Oyugi burst into clapping and laughing, and Nicholas Biwott was clapping. You know, Moi was just smiling and holding his chin like this, and everyone was clapping and happy, you know. It was kind of like, I don't know if it's, you know, leaders, the ego likes to be stroked. And I remember after that, our school started being invited for almost all these events that were happening. Every time Moi was going somewhere, either he was leaving the country, was coming back, they always invited our school to come and perform, and they always insisted that they wanted that particular song sung. All right, and it's also because of this song that we received a present from Hezekiah Oyugi, which was a van. It was a white school van. By that time, we didn't have a van in the school, so he gifted us a van because of this particular song, you know. And we kind of became, our school kind of became very famous because of that particular song that we performed. Now, in APTC Primary School, by the time I went to that school, I'd just come from Australia, right? I told you guys. And in Australia, I wasn't really so much into music. What I can remember is that my sister used to love Michael Jackson and also Whitney Houston. All right. I remember she used to like singing on top of her voice, I believe the children are our future. Lead them well and let them do. That song, Whitney Houston, yeah? And Michael Jackson, by that time, I think it was Bad had come out, right? So, and my dad always loved playing this Franco, is it Zairean musician? There was this song, Mario Nalemie, Mario, and there was another one, Mobutu says. He used to play those songs, and then by that time we used to have the LPs, mostly the LPs. He had a stack of those old songs, yeah. So by the time I came back to Kenya, I didn't really have, a wide exposure to different genres of music besides the ones that I already had. All right. So in school, we always had at the end of the term, all our classes were told to come up with songs for the closing day party. All right. So every stream had to make songs, traditional folk songs or whatever songs, and the class teacher was the one who was to teach you the songs. Yeah? Like ours, I can remember one. I think it was, if it was not a Mr. There was also another teacher who used to love music and teach us. I can't remember his name, but he was a Kamba. If it wasn't Mutua, I can't remember his name. But I remember the song used to go something like Modi wa mitambo, di 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 di. Modi wa mitambo, di 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 di. Di 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 something like that. It was a folk song in the Kamba language. I still remember that song up to now. So I started getting introduced to music slowly, different types of music. And at that time, every third term, there's a school that was called Star of the Sea. Now, Star of the Sea was a school from Mombasa. And they always used to come to our school at the third term at the end of every year. I think there was they were very good in, if it wasn't music, then it was drama, and they were extremely good. All right. So they always got to the nationals or the provincials, right? And every time they used to come to our school to maybe stay in the girls' dorms, because it was an all-girls secondary school. It was a secondary school. But then every time we'd get the band, whenever they came, we'd get the band from the Maroon Commandos, the Administration Police Training College band. And it used to come to the dining hall. And then we used to have a party, and there used to be music and everything. And that's where I got introduced to, by that time, reggae was there, but no one used to really listen to reggae. It hadn't blown up, all right? Hip-hop wasn't there at all. Dancehall wasn't there at all. It was only funk and maybe soul music. All right. And I remember by that time, by this time now, when I was starting to get introduced to music, I'd gotten a Walkman. Right. And so I had this Walkman. I used to have this Walkman and I used to listen to it secretively. No one knew I had it. So every time after preps, it used to have a cassette player, but mostly I used to use the radio part. All right. So I used to, there's a boy I used to send to buy batteries. It used these very small batteries. So when the batteries were over, there's a boy, a day scholar, I used to go and send to bring for me the new batteries. So I remember I used to have this thing, and after preps I used to go under the covers, cover my head, and then it had headphones. So I used to just listen to music. And there's a time I was almost caught because I was listening to music, I'd covered my head, But then Mr. Mutua had come, Mr. Mwangi had come to the dorms. I don't know, I can't remember what was going on, but he told everybody to come out of their beds and make a line, like an impromptu inspection. And then people had come, he'd already reached the third dorm, Upper Kimathi, but I was still in the covers, listening to my music, and I just felt 2 strong strokes on my bum. And I came out of the cover just to find Mr. Mwangi there. What are you still doing then? I've told everybody. But by good luck, when I came out, the Walkman and the headphone stayed inside the cover. So he didn't see it. When I was coming out, I'd removed it, so he didn't see it. I'm telling you, if he had seen that, but then that same Walkman was going to cause for me a lot of problems later on, but I'll tell you guys. So let me go on with my story. So, Star of the Sea girls in our school, we used to have a party, and the APTC used to bring their big loudspeakers that used to play disco music. So we used to play and dance in the dining hall. The dining hall was really big, so we used to move all the tables and seats to one area, and then there was a big stage and we'd all dance. Now I remember one of the very times that I really got inspired by someone was, there's this boy. I told you guys there was a girl in our class called Mary Mudhoni. Now, Mary Mudhoni had an elder sister, and she also had an elder brother. Now, this elder brother, I'm telling you guys, this guy could dance. Those days it was just funk. I'm telling you, whenever that guy just went on the stage, everyone would stop dancing and watch him. I mean, he had the moves, like the new style of dance that by that time hadn't even really caught on. That boy was good. I mean, even the teacher, everyone was just amazed by the way he danced. And I remember at that point, that's when, just looking at this boy, Mary Mudhoni's brother, I just looked and I was like, I think this music thing is the thing for me, But I couldn't dance that way. I could dance, but then his was just on a different level. So slowly by slowly, I started getting interest in music. And I remember, as I told you guys, there were 2 groups of choir. There was the real choir that would go for the competitions, and then there was the mass choir that would just go maybe if the president, just a lot of students, right? So everyone wanted to join any of these clubs, like the music club, the scouts, specifically because if you're a member of these clubs, you got to travel, all right? You got to go out of school, maybe if it's the scouts, you go for a camp. If it's the music club, then you'd go out more often than any other clubs, because anytime the president was leaving, maybe there were functions, you'd be called. So I remember the very first time, even before we'd gone to sing for the president, the very first time that this music club was being set up, they just simply started calling people from the classes, one stream by stream, to go to the dining hall. There are 2 dining halls in the school. There's one that was functional, and then there was another one that wasn't really functional because we didn't need 2. I think the idea was one was supposed to be for girls, one was for boys, but then the number of students in the school, they saw it wasn't practical. It was better off just using one of the dormitory, one of the dining halls. So I remember these 2 choir masters, who I told you guys were from the Maroon Commandos band, which is the Administration Police Training College choir, invited people from our school, our classes, to go and audition practically for the school choir. So we were being called class by class, stream by stream. So you're called, they give you a tune or a line to sing, and then they either put you on the left or put you on the right, And if you're put on the right, you made it to the choir, to the school choir. If you're put on the left, you're told to go back to class. So you guys, we went. I was given a line to sing. I sang my best. I was told to the left. I'm like, what? I didn't make it. They told me, go to the left. Your voice, no. So I was like, oh, okay, fine. So my voice isn't in the keyboard. All right. We went back to class. But to be fair, a lot of people were taken to the left, and the people who made it to the right were not that many, but the ones who were taken to the right could actually really sing, not just have their voice on the keyboard, but they could actually sing. So I remember that kind of hurt my feelings, because I'd always had this thing for music. I'd always wanted to do music. It's something a bug that I caught, anything to do with music and the arts. I just had this love for it. And especially after seeing Mary Mudhoni's brother dancing, after joining the mass choir and seeing the way the president was reacting to music, the way music kind of had some type of power and influence, the way, I just had this feeling to be on stage. I had this feeling that I could do something in the arts, whether it's dancing, whether it's music, whatever. So one day, there was this program on K.B.C. I think it was during the weekends, every weekend, I think. It was basically a show that they'd go visit schools. They'd go visit schools and showcase, have kids do different things, tell stories, sing music and all that stuff. So I remember our class teacher came and told us in the class that these people from such and such a program on K.B.C, that's the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, were going to come and visit our school. So if anyone had anything to present, a presentation or anything, they could get ready and perform it when these guys come. So me, a guy called David Abuya, and another friend of mine called Stephen Gashagwa decided to compose a song, right? And it was a rap song. And I remember Stephen Gashagwa, he was like the beatbox. He was making the beat, and me and David Abuya, we were doing the rap. All right. Now, at this same time, when these guys came, there were students like who were doing set pieces, poems. There were other people who, the whole choir also was there, and they made a song for this particular program on K.B.C. All right, and there are other things going on, talking about the school and so on, so forth. So when they asked, they said, does anyone have any thing to present? So me, Abuya, and Gashagwa went and said, yes, we have a song. And we'd been practicing, it was a rap song. I can't really remember the words, but I remember when I was in Australia, there was this nursery rhyme. It was about 3 bears. It was I've forgotten the full name but it was a nursery rhyme, right? So I said, okay, fine, let me take this song and kind of turn it into a rap. Now, Stephen Gashagwa was the one making for us the beats. He didn't sing, he was just doing the ad libs, and the beats and snapping his fingers. So I remember, if I'm not wrong, the song went something like my part, because I started, it went something like, once upon a time in a nursery rhyme there were 3 bears. They all went a walking and a talking in the woods. Along came a girl with short curly hair. There were 3 bears. Hey mama 3 bear, said the little wee bear, someone has drunk my porridge, yeah. Hey mama 3 bear, said the little wee bear, someone has broken my chair, yeah. Hey mama 3 bear, said the little wee bear, someone in my bed, yeah. And then David Abuya came in with his part. His part went something like, A monkey and a baboon were having fun. A monkey put the finger in the baboon's mouth. Oh God, bless my soul. I've never seen a monkey be a lioness. Now that was Steven Gashagwa. He was making the ad libs and the beats and the beatboxing. I'm telling you, when we did that thing, the whole school burst into clapping and shouting and and we were like, yeah, we did it. So I remember the guys of K.B.C were like, if at all we are going to take something and we are going to guarantee that it's going to be on TV, this is the one. And because the time limit for that particular show was limited, and there were a lot of things that had been, some of them the teachers had written themselves, like some poems, some presentations about the school, but the time for the program was limited, so they had to remove a lot of things from the presentation. So I think they ended up removing the choir. They actually had to remove the choir, and I remember after now, when the program itself had come out on TV, and then it was after now we'd closed and we'd gone back home. I didn't know, because I didn't know that it had come out, and everyone had seen it. And there's even a cousin of mine who'd recorded it. So people were like, Benson, we saw you on TV. What do you mean you saw? Yeah, we saw you. You were singing. They started copying the song we'd sang, and I was like, oh yeah. Even back when we went to the estate, guys were like, we saw you on TV. We saw you in your school doing a rap song, yeah. And at that point, I started getting this bug. I was like, all right, I think I can like this. I can get used to this, fame and actually doing something artistic that people valued, And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to have a career in music one of these days, right? And surely later on, but it's later on, I'll tell you guys later on as I go on with my stories, after I've left APTC primary school, after I went to secondary school, after I finished, actually in secondary school is when now I started taking music seriously, and I started really performing, and the urge for music started really building, the love for fame and attention and all that comes with music, started really growing within me. And for sure, guys, I would have been really far if it wasn't for alcohol, because somehow I got addicted to alcohol and it messed up, and I just lost track, the trajectory that my music career had started taking. But I'll tell you guys about that later on when I'm going on with my stories. Yeah, but after this particular performance, you remember I told you the two music teachers had given us the audition in school, and I was one of the people they told move to the left, Steven Kashagwa to the left, David Abuya to the left. We are people who never, no, I'm not sure about David. Yeah, but me, I'm sure I was put to the left. And I remember one of the choir masters, he was a Luo, I'm a Luo. After that, he came, he met me one day in the corridors, and he called me. He said, I think you should write for us a rap song, just jokingly. And then I told him, but sir, you said that I can't sing. You told me I can't sing, I moved to the left. Then he said, okay, I'll make an exception. I've invited you to come in the next choir practice, and we'll teach you just a bit on the vocals, just a bit, and we'll allow you to join the music club. Yeah. So that's how I joined the APTC. But I didn't really. I preferred the Scouts. All right. I preferred the scouting club, because the scouting club we got to go to more interesting places, you know, like Roland Camp. We went to Ngong Hills. You know, we mostly left. Sometimes with the scouts you get to leave Nairobi and move to some towns out of Nairobi, whilst with the choir most things are done in Nairobi. So even if it's competitions, they are done within Nairobi, so you don't get to travel so much. Yeah, but anyway, that is how my love for music started. I caught the bug, and we got to meet the president just because of the choir. You know, I'd see the president, we'd get to, you know, we were like, our school we had to be, every time the president went to the to travel out of the country, our school was the first one called there, because we were the closest school, and we used to be brought there by the administration police bus. All right. And we used to, there's a time even Moi used to come and greet, we shook his hand like this, you know. There's a time he shook his hand like this, and I was almost tempted to tell him, sir, do you remember me? You know, my dad was in Australia and we met you at Mahugu's residence in Australia, High Commissioner's residence. But I was like, no, no, let me just keep quiet. My classmates never believed. I used to tell them, Nicholas Biwott, this guy, I saw him in Australia and I shook his hand before. Now this is the second time I'm shaking his hand, you know. I wanted to just, you know, when I was shaking Nicholas Biwott's hand, I wanted to just say, sir, do you remember me? But I was like, no, the security, no, let me just, bzz. Yeah. So, yeah, that's how that's how I got my very first rap song on national TV, but it wasn't the last time. Later on again, I'd be on national radio with a song that I did with a guy called Njoroge Benson. But that's a story for another time, all right? So, guys, if you're watching me for the first time, my name is Benson the Storyteller, and these are my untold stories. Please like and share my videos. For those of you who are regular viewers, thank you for the support, and continue watching. And on my next video, I'm still telling you stories from APTC Primary School. All right? So make sure you continue watching my videos. Thank you.